So this week is a massive week in our astrology because Mars stations direct finally after over 70 days in its retrograde phase, 74-ish days, I think. And so it's big because we're now moving ahead with many of the topics that have been in gestation. And this video is going to break down those energies, talk a lot about Mars and then Mercury and how we're, on the cusp of some real intense, passionate, fiery movement forward into 2023. My name is S.J. Anderson. Thanks for coming to the channel. I'm very happy that you're here. I talk about astrology on this channel, and that's what I do. I love to update the transiting astrology and dive into it and try to just feel into the symbols and extract meaning from those symbols in a way that can add to my life and your life and all of our lives as we share together. Here's the video. It's this tweet that I sent out a few days ago. I think it was yesterday, actually. This week, Mars stations direct. The following week, Mercury does. Whatever's been building in gestation, waiting to emerge, is likely soon coming to the fore. And so get ready for a dynamic period of astrology with no traditional planets retrograde. It'll be a major theme of Aquarius season. And it's a major theme of, even into March, when the big changes arrive. We have this lovely movement ahead that's kind of propelling us into March when we have those big changes, which I'll break down a little bit here too in this video. But this is the video. Mars stations direct this week, and then it sets up this kind of cascade. What I've been telling people is that it's like in order, we have these things that are dropping that move us forward. It was Jupiter into Aries on the 20th of December. Now it's Mars stationing direct on 12 January, Mercury direct on 18 January, and then they're all moving forward until that March month with some major astrological shifts. In this video, I'm going to pull from the Encyclopedia of Astrology. I love this book. It's from Nicholas Devore. He lived from 1882 to 1960, was the president of the New York-based Astrological Research Society. This encyclopedia comes with SolarFire. So if you're using the SolarFire software, don't sleep on this resource. It's amazing how much is in this encyclopedia. Tons of awesome information. Okay, so I'm going to use it for this video. As you know, I like to use source text when I do videos. And the first thing I want to talk about, what is a retrograde? What are retrogrades? Why are we even making a video about retrograde periods ending? Well, here is what this encyclopedia says. It is generally considered that a transiting planet is more likely to develop its negative qualities when it is retrograde, turning back for a recheck of the ground already covered. Okay, it may not necessarily be bad, except that the future is held in abeyance. And this is what I always say is keywords for retrogrades: blocks, delays, review. Those are my three favorite keywords. And so here we are with both Mars and Mercury in blocks, delays, and reviews. And we're at the beginning of 2023 and sort of waiting. By the end of January, those blocks are removed. Okay, I'm going to say this here because there's often conversations about this on social media. A stationary planet that's stationing direct is punctuated and powerful, okay? It does not change the fact that the planet is then, after that point of power, often events will cohere around those points of power. There can be climaxes and revelations of all kinds, but then it is a slower planet until it can get moving faster. And so these are not going to be fast Mars, fast Mercury right out of the gate, though this period where it punctuates when it stations direct can feel like the fastest planet that there is, because it's a punctuated moment of inflection, right? A turning point that emerges. And so that's why it's so important that these planets are stationing direct this week, because we've been in a turning back. The future has been held in abeyance. That gets removed, okay? So let me go to the next slide. We're talking now about the exact dates, and I want you to think about these in the context of your life, because the stories that emerge when a planet enters the sign where it will station retrograde and then leaves the sign where it's stationed retrograde, that is the outer boundaries of the retrograde story. And so for Mars, that was 20 August 2022, Mars entered Gemini. Think back, what emerged in your life? In the collective context, there was Twitter. I think that's right around when the Musk stuff started getting more intense, and then the purchase happened. There were several other events that aren't on the fore of my head right now in terms of the mundane. We've had all kinds of hacks. We've had all kinds of Some kind of delays in that war in Ukraine too has been delayed a little bit. And that's when I made a whole video about when Mars stations direct, what can happen. You can go to my channel and just search Mars. I think it's war as in the title. That video will come right up. But that's kind of been on pause. Mars station retrograde on 30 October 2022. And so then Mars stations direct on 12 January here, coming up right in 3 days. And then Mars will enter Cancer on 25 March. So it's 20 August through 25 March 2023 of the whole window of this Mars and Gemini story, which includes a full retrograde. And those are the dates you should focus on when you're contemplating your own life. What's been in gestation? What's been waiting? What have you been using these retrogrades to plan and prepare for? And this is the other thing I've got on my channel, a couple of videos. I didn't put that war video, but that's also there. But I had a video, Mars and Gemini, planning and preparation, right? Because it's this future held in abeyance, like the Dvorak Encyclopedia says. And then I had a video about the mundane astrology. There's some really interesting patterns with Mars retrograde cycles in Gemini that kick off empires. Pax Romana, Pax Americana, Pax Britannica all kick off with one of these retrogrades in Mars and Gemini, and very close to the same degrees we're in now. So you can check those out. Maybe review, it might help you review or think about what went down in your life. The basic idea, though, going back to that tweet, is that it's all about to be over. So we're going to have to face the future here soon. No matter how well we prepared or didn't prepare, we're all going to be pushed into that future. It's like if you're, learning to swim, it's time to jump in the water. And you either, had some skills or you didn't. Hopefully you got some good skills, because the astrology is going to force us into some confrontations with whatever our reality is. And that's, of course, contextual on your nativity. That's one thing I always try to share. I should share here. I don't share this as often. When I do these transit videos, someone was commenting like, this is just general. Yeah, it's general because I don't have your nativity. I'm not applying general transit delineation to the specificity of the nativity. That work is done in the consultation space. But there is a powerful value that can be gleaned from general transit delineation too, because those energies are then overlaid to the specific sectors. And so here we can only do part of that work. Okay, let me keep going. You've got this other tweet I had. This week's all about Mars, the fiery planet of passion, power, and conflict, stations direct. And then there's this Venus trine that we get to enjoy tomorrow or today. This is over. This is part of, if you had a good day today. I know I did. I had a really nice day. But Venus and Mars were perfecting that trine. And so that's very lovely that we got to enjoy that. It's kind of nice to have Venus overcoming Mars for its direct station. I think it adds to the auspiciousness. Venus, the value and the kind of pleasure and the beauty that we can find in the elegance of the ephemeris and the elegance of our lives as they unfold vis-a-vis these symbols of the ephemeris. All right, what is Mars? Let's just go to what is Mars. Come back to the tarot. This is the Tarot of Marseille. Look at it. It's the lightning struck tower and the freedom that comes when we finally get dynamism. This is how I'm going to read this card. It's the dynamic nature of reality. And we have these castles that we're embedded in this case, a bricked tower. The dynamism comes and forces us into the world. I've seen a keyword recently, Mars as abrupt. Mars as obviously abrupt action. It's very Uranian. And so we get to move ahead, passion, action, abruptness, jolts can be Mars. And that's what we're about to enter into, a more powerful Mars, unrestricted untied to its retrograde cycle. Let's see here. This is the encyclopedia, the Dvorak Encyclopedia. I like some of these. He says Mars is cutlery, so knives. Those who use cutlery are sharp tools. I always say Mars is builders. Those are using tools to make things. He says here, there's a few things, athletics and sports, but insofar as they express courage, strength, dexterity, and enterprise. My distinction with Mars and sports is always that it's the sports that are more warlike. Football, for example, boxing, where you're fighting and you're like physically, fighting. And whereas the sports that are more dainty, like tennis or golf, those are more Mercury, or even track, where you're just running against the clock. Those are Mercury ruled sports, but the Martial ruled sports are part of this too. Maybe you're doing training and now you're going to actually have some sparring matches or something like this in the early part of 2023. But, those are the themes to look for. What are you building, right? What does it say here? People who use tools is what Mars is. And so it's like what we're going to build when Mars stations direct and starts moving forward into 2023. That's the perfect contemplation. What are you building and doing? Okay. This is the other little interlude I wanted to make in this video. Remember that Mars, when it's done in Gemini, enters the sign of Cancer on 25 March. And so we shift from that doing, passionate, active martial energy in Gemini, which is mental, often writing, the power of the words to be weapons, information and deploying information, building with words or building with technology. When Mars comes to Cancer, we're now blending into Cancer, and it's a perfect time. I wanted to just come back to this thing that came up from my last video in the comments. Thank you, everybody, for making the comment. I see it there. There is the wheels on the chariot there, right there. One thing about this chariot that, so I wanted to thank you guys for that. You know, it's a lesson when you read tarot. Really digging into the details of the drawing is quite important, especially when you're delineating from the specific image of a deck. And so there's that. I just wanted to say, look, this is like a block of concrete right on the grass. I think that these wheels are not going to be very functional. And I wanted just to share the point of where I got this idea from, because it's in this idea that the chariot is static. Look at the Terra Mersae. That wheel it looks like just an ornament. It's like sideways. There's two sideways wheels, almost as if they're attached to the back of the chariot, almost like this is sort of a just a ceremonial kind of prop, the actual charioteer's apparatus here. And this is the Terra Mersae. This is why I always have thought of the chariot as maybe static. And I want to point you to Alejandro Jodorowsky, my favorite book on tarot. He's awesome. This guy's a master. He's a master filmmaker, master avant-garde artistic filmmaker. Some great films from the 70s, The Holy Mountain, El Topo. But he's a tarologist and a tarot practitioner, and one of the best there is. And this book, The Way of the Tarot, The Spiritual Teacher and the Cards, heavily influential for me. I was studying tarot before I even became an astrologer. This book was a huge part of that journey for me. And here's what he says in there about the chariot. The vehicle, the flesh-colored square, is buried in the earth, allowing us to say that he is not moving forward. In reality, he is moving with the movement of the planet, the preeminent kind of movement. He is one with the earth, and it's the mirror of the planet's rotation. So this is what I was pulling from. It was a big part of my understanding of the chariot, is the idea that you're embedded in this earthly rotation. And I think when we correspond it to Cancer, it's like the home of the earth that we're all in, and we're kind of the movements of the collective that we can be swayed by, the unconscious side of the moon, right? Where the emotions kind of flow. Sometimes we don't even know why we're feeling things. Memories come back. We have no idea. There's a certain acknowledgement. We are in the context of our environment, all kinds of sensory triggers of the environment, all kinds of sensory triggers in the kind of community around us that we can't escape, right? And these are significations of the moon: home, body, emotion, the things that are happening inside of us. And so I think of the chariot as kind of about that. It's about moving because of the environment, the matrix of reality that we're embedded in moves us, just like the moon cycles move us. They move the water and the tides. So anyhow, I just wanted to bring that up. And it's part of why when Mars enters Cancer, I'll be breaking this down in depth. Mars doesn't want to be have its movements tethered to the earth or to the swaying emotions of the environment around it. Mars wants to be maverick and out doing things as it wants to, as it wills, right? It's the masculine power Mars. That's why Mars has fallen in Cancer partly. And so anyhow, this is part of the chariot conversation. I just wanted to add it because a lot of folks were commenting, and I appreciated those comments, but this is just to give you more of the thinking. It wasn't just a kind of ill-advised lack of my noticing. It comes from a kind of a deeper tradition with the tarot schools that I studied. Okay, let's push and move. Now let's shift to Mercury. Why Mars stationing direct this week is so important is that it's in the domicile of Mercury, Gemini. And Mercury right now is also retrograde. It's been retrograde since 6 December 2022. It entered Capricorn in 6 December 2022. On 6 December 2022. It's stationed retrograde on 29 December 2022. And it will station direct on 18 January 2023. So by 18 January 2023, not only will Mars be direct now, slowly moving forward, Mercury then gets that punctuation point and then starts slowly moving forward too. So there'll be no traditional planets retrograde. It'll be full looking forward at that point. And then Mars will enter Aquarius on 11 February, or pardon me, Mercury enters Aquarius on 11 February after stationing direct on 18 January. Just quickly here, I don't want to focus too much on Mercury, but it's important because as Mars's ruler, it's part of the Mars building energy. It becomes mercurial. And the Tarot, we've got the Magician. I love this card for Mercury because all these tools are on the table, and this is a master of the tools around it. It's able to be adaptable and able to use things in its environment to make things in reality. It has skills, specific skills of all kinds of the tool sets, and other tarot decks, these are all the elements, right? Mercury is able to kind of weave between all planets. That's one of the ancient significations. Mercury just blends with whatever is around it. It can become very good and skilled at whatever is influencing it. And so the encyclopedia, the Devore Encyclopedia, Mercury Business Matters, letter writing. This is why Mercury retrograde, we recommend waiting on business matters, okay? Because Mercury signifies business matters, future held in abeyance around business matters. Neighbors, gossip, schools, teaching, learning, scientific and literary, publishing, buying, selling, so business again. That's Mercury. By 18 January, Mercury is stationed direct, so is Mars. And there's a lot of support, more support than there has been for a long time in the sky for building, doing, moving ahead. Couple of charts I want to bring us to focus on. The first, and these are some elections that, I always am doing it with my videos now, just touching base with some of the moons that are coming and some of the specific charts that are coming, because I want you all to be aware. I mean, we've got to be aware of some of the more specifics and contextualize all this with the other planets that are interacting. Look at this Libra moon. I've already mentioned this in one of my last videos, but 14 January, moon in Libra waning applies to Venus, this lovely air trine. This is a one you can think about. Both Mars and Mercury are, Mars is direct, Mercury is not direct. It's almost getting to its directness, but it's coming out from under the sun's beam. So if you're having to do some stuff, maybe this is something to consider. It's one of the moons that's on my radar. This is the chart that's very much my new year. I was telling people on Twitter, this is my SJ's new year is going to be the new moon in Aquarius, 21 January 2023. And this is the first new moon of 2023, and it's the first new moon with both Mars and Mercury direct. So it's the first new moon when all planets are now moving forward again. And I think it's symbolic of the newness of the Mars cycle and Mercury cycle ending their blocks and delays. I'll be breaking this down in depth in a few videos, so I'm not going to say much more about it here. And then this other one, here's an example of the kind of chart you can use in the next waxing cycle if you're wanting to grow something like a business and take some action. You've got Mercury direct, you've got Mars direct, and then you've got a moon right with Jupiter. Right here in my location, I can get it nice near the IC. You've got Sag rising, and you've got this moon with Jupiter ruled by that Mars and Gemini and that beautiful sextile with that waxing energy. This is, I think, one of the first, best, really good options for taking some action in 2023. I love it. So I wanted to share that with you. That was, again, 26 January 2023. Just look for the moon conjoining Jupiter. Try to get it before it conjoins Jupiter while it's in Aries, and that captures the maximum power there. So let me come now. What am I doing here? I think that was it. Boy, I blazed through that. I thought I had less time than I did, but it's good to have a shorter video and a fast video, and I hope you all got something out of this. I just want to remind everybody here, by the way, I am raising my prices at the end of the month. Not a whole lot, okay? It's not going to be a huge amount, but it might be enough for some. So I just want to let everybody know, try to schedule with me if you want to get the low price that I've been at for a while. And all my colleagues keep telling me, you got to raise. So I'm finally going to go with what their suggestion is and tweak it up some. But I'm going to open some more readings, not a lot because I'm already kind of pushed to the max, but I'm going to open a few more slots up just until through January, February, and then March before I go and leave to an astrology conference and taking a little bit of time off for some readings at the end of March. But just a few little slots will be opened. So you can try to schedule them now at that price. After, I think, in late January, when they go up, then they'll just be that higher price. But I wanted to mention it. I'll probably mention it one or two more times just so you know, I know money's valuable, so your money is valuable, and this is a chance to maybe save some money. But anyhow, this is my website, sjanderson144.com. Just come here, click here to schedule an astrology reading, takes you right to my page. And, other than that, have a wonderful Mars direct week. I mean, it may very well be that you're feeling it already, that you're feeling the pull into your future. And if you know the houses Mars rules in your chart, those house topics, they may be clarifying and pulling you into the future. And so I want you to have a lovely Mars direct week and enjoy this removal of the blocks and the kind of hope and vision that we can, and building and doing that we can now begin applying better in 2023. So take care out there, and I will speak with you very, very soon in the next video. Peace.